So, dear all, my name is Olivier Epola. I am the coordinator of this European Union Joint Action on Vaccination. And it is my great pleasure today to welcome you to this Info Day. For us, the opportunity to show us what has been done during this JAV in the past 3 years and what we are going to do in the next months until the end of the JAV. I would like to thank the Work Package 2 partners, the Greek partners, who have organized this meeting. It has been first designed to be a physical meeting, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this is an online meeting. But somehow, somewhere, we are all today in Athens, thanks to our Greek partners. I would like to maybe explain you where this joint action come from. The context is known, of course, by everybody. Vaccination is an extraordinary tool, and what we are living today with the COVID-19 pandemic is just another example of the tremendous impact of vaccination on the infectious disease. Vaccine stop pandemic, vaccine prevent infectious disease, vaccine prevent virus-associated cancers, such as cancer associated with papillomavirus or hepatitis B virus. There is a vaccine for all the decades of life, from newborn to the old. And even if some diseases are still out of reach for the moment for vaccines, such as HIV, for example, we have welcomed some very interesting success recently. Ebola, for example, in the recent years, and of course in 2020, the COVID-19. But on the other hand, we can see that there is still some issues that are not resolved or that are not maybe addressed enough regarding the organization of vaccination at the European scale or the vaccination strategy, regarding, for example, the fact that every country does not have the same vaccine schedules in Europe, the fact that somehow it's not so easy to have the data regarding vaccine coverage or vaccine strategy in different countries of the Europe area. In the past, we have faced shortages of vaccine, and this prevents the immunization of sometimes large populations from 1 year or 2 years. The way that each country identify the research priority may differ and somehow may lack consistency. And maybe something more important, even more important, the vaccine hesitancy is growing in some areas, including some areas of Europe. It is to address such complex issues that in the past, some joint actions have been launched in other areas. The European Union has launched, for example, joint action on health regulations and preparedness in the EU, on tobacco control, or a joint action on frailty due to age, or a joint action regarding chronic disease, a joint action on the antimicrobial resistance, a joint action on rare cancers, and in 2018, a joint action on vaccination. This joint action is designed to build tools to, at the end, improve vaccination coverage in Europe and to reinforce each country's national immunization program. And this joint action has been built with 20 partners. It has begun in August 2018 and will last until the end of March 2022. And there is the 5 major topics of study, of survey, or reports. How do the different countries build the immunization scheduled on which scientific evidence? How do we use digital immunization information system across Europe? Is it possible to prevent shortage and to better organize supply and demand thanks to a common data warehouse in Europe? How to define common vaccine research priority programs? And how do we address at a European-wide scale the issues of vaccine confidence? How do we reinforce vaccine confidence? In other words, our main objectives are also to increase this confidence, to increase the synergy between the different stakeholders and the public, to better define common research priority regarding either vaccine efficacy or efficiency and better vaccine coverage, better vaccine uptake by the European population, to assess and to reinforce the interoperability of all our national immunization information systems, and to do all this in a perspective of sustainability of all the created tools. As the other joint action, the European joint action on vaccination is built on different work package, each of them dedicated to some tasks. For example, we will detail just after this slide the tasks of the different work package. There is some work package dedicated to those tasks, and others are dedicated, as you can see, to the dissemination of what the EU JAV is doing, such as the Greek team who host us today in Athens, even virtually. Evaluation, integration into national policies and future sustainability, and coordination. And regarding the topics, the work package 5 is working mainly on the immunization information systems. It is exploring these systems in the different countries and explore their interoperability. They use them to make a general platform to inform every European citizen to the vaccine coverage, not only in its own country, but in all the Europe. And they explore the immunization reminder systems and what works and what does not work maybe in Europe. And another goal is also to use those different tools to set, when needed, trans-border vaccination campaigns. The work package 6 is dedicated to the supply and preparedness in supply regarding vaccines. They have reviewed the past experiences of vaccine shortages. They explore the mechanism of each country to forecast their vaccine needs. They explore how to reinforce the mechanisms of management to forecast those supply and to better estimate the stocks, and even to have a European-wide, at the scale of Europe, of a data warehouse regarding the needs and the stocks and the future supply of vaccine in Europe, and how maybe to have a centralized procurement regarding some vaccines in Europe. The work package 7 is set on research prioritization. They have identified what are today the best way to prioritize some area in vaccine research, not only vaccine efficiency, but also vaccine confidence or vaccine uptake, and also to assess how the Europe can have more funding mechanism, joint funding mechanism between countries or between agencies. Work package 8 focus on vaccine hesitancy. First, to identify every action conducted in the past in Europe regarding the broad field of vaccine hesitancy, and what did work and what did not work, and what are the best practice in this area, and to share to every country what has been done in each country. and also to study the social media to monitor in real time vaccine confidence and whether it would be possible to promote through the social media healthy behavior regarding, among others, the vaccination. And in the end, work package 4 has some important mission. First, to elaborate tools, the so-called barometer, to evaluate needs, information for the European healthcare workers and how to address those formation needs, to conduct communication actions towards not only healthcare workers, but also towards youth. And in the other end, a very important field to ensure the sustainability of the EU JAV tools and the EU JAV recommendations that have been made in the recent years by the JAV or in the coming months until the end. The governance of the JAV, apart from being coordinated on the inside, has also a lot of link with the outside. First, of course, through the European agency ADEA, previously SHAFEA, but also has developed a lot of links with different stakeholders which are vaccine stakeholders, and also with the member states committee to share what we have done and to have some exchange of views regarding what we can do better or what we can implement in our surveys or our recommendations. So far, there have been several results, and you can check all of these results on the website of the EU JAV, eujav.com. There have been more than 20 deliverables achieved. There have been 3 pilot platforms created, for example, regarding vaccine confidence in social media, or regarding vaccine coverage, or regarding past action conducted in Europe regarding vaccine confidence or vaccine uptake. We have organized, including this one, 3 general assembly, in addition to this one I made. We have identified several stakeholders and partners. We have participated to meetings to present the project. We have organized several school competitions. Our website, maybe due to the COVID-19 vaccine interest of people, have received more than 1.5 million visits. And we have produced some newsletters that are, again, available on the website. So, and this will be my last slides. So far, different works have been conducted. Other deliverables have been produced, and some other will be produced. And today, Work Package Leader will present their results from the beginning of the EU JAV until today. Moreover, we are still working, and we will have some more results to present you. I'm almost sure it will be a physical meeting, or part physical, part online, but there will be a physical meeting, I'm sure, in February next year to present the last results of the EU JAV. All these tools, all the things that we are producing, the survey, the studies, the recommendation, all of these are public good, and we want them to be broadly disseminated through Europe and beyond. And we can only do this, we can only have sustainable results and the persistence of our achievement in the future with the help of you, with the help of the stakeholders. Let me just present today's agenda. After my general introduction, as we are hosted by Greek partners, we will have introduction speeches by them regarding the situation of vaccination with Greek as a case country, but also more broadly than only Greece. Then an introduction by Martin Ingvorsen from DG Santé of the European Commission. Then the presentation of Work Package 4, then a break, and then the presentation of the Work Package 5, 6, 7, and 8 before the closing remarks. So thank you for being there. I hope that all that we are going to present you today will be interesting for you, and you will help us to disseminate those results. And now it is my pleasure to welcome Marios Themistokleos, the Secretary General of Primary Health Care for the Ministry of Health of Greece, and he is a coordinator of an important vaccination program in Greece, Eleftheria.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please let me share my screen? Just give me 1 second.
It is perfect.
Okay, so hi, my name is Marios Themistokleos. I'm the General Secretary of the Primary Health Care, and I'm the coordinator, the project manager of the vaccination, of the rollout of the vaccination program in Greece, which is called Operation Freedom, Operation Eleftheria. Actually, Eleftheria is the freedom, and because the vaccines are the only way to get back our normal life and our freedom. We will all agree here that vaccines is the only way to fight pandemics. This was happening in the past in medical history, and this is, I will not stay long in this slide, this is what we see in the pandemic of COVID as well. The special thing in this case that we have the research of the vaccines and the rollout of the vaccines in a very little amount of time, almost 1 year after the beginning of the pandemic, we managed to have vaccines, and we can see the effect of the vaccines in the pandemic. We can see now that countries, especially with high vaccination rates, are getting back their normal life, and even if you are in an area of with high vaccination rates, people are not even wearing masks. This is happening, for example, in Belgium, in some areas in Belgium. I will say from what was happening in the beginning and what was achieved in the level of the European Union. European Commission secured the right to buy a specific number of vaccine doses in a given time frame and at a given price. So the Commission financed upfront 2.7 billion of vaccines to the Emergency Support Instrument, and this funding was considered down payment of the member states. What was achieved with this, and actually it was very important for Greece, is that we have ensured quality, safety, and the efficacy of the vaccines. European Union financed the research of the vaccines, but the most important, especially for small countries like Greece, is that with this way, because the other scenario is that every country independently negotiate with the vaccine producer, with the pharmaceutical companies, and we will all have different prices throughout the European Union, and especially we will not achieve the vaccines to be delivered in a specific time frame. There were several complaints in the beginning that the European Union, there was a delay in the European Union compared with other countries, for example, UK, USA, or Israel. But in the end of the day, we all realized that this was just a delay of, let's say, 1 or 1.5 months. And this tragedy was very important, especially for countries with not powerful economies that they could negotiate directly with the vaccine producers' companies. I will focus especially what happened here in Greece. We realized from the beginning that the vaccination program, the rollout of the vaccination program, it will be a huge project that will need the cooperation. It will be the enrollment, not just the Ministry of Health, but the cooperation with all the with several ministries throughout Greece and several public or private companies, and that it will need the enrollment of thousands of people in a very disciplined way. And so we decided from the beginning that the organizational chart from the project, I was appointed as the coordinator, the project manager of the whole project. And actually, the rollout of the vaccination program was the best example of what we call here in Greece the executive state, επιτελικό κράτος, which is there is a central coordination, and below this there are all the several ministries or the organizations. So we decided that it was a huge project. We have several problems and several unknown factors, especially in the beginning. We didn't know all the details regarding the storage, the distributions of the vaccines. And we called Hellenic Army, the only organization in Greece that has experience in huge logistics project, to give us a hand in order to organize in the better way the distribution. And we have seen that, especially in the first phase, that Greece managed to deal with the distribution and storage problems in better way than other European countries. So we first agree all regarding the strategic pillars of the Greek vaccination program. The first one was the safety. We have to ensure that we follow all the standards and all the specifications of the vaccines and the good practices. So we have strict control measure throughout all the supply chains, throughout the entering of the vaccines in the border of Greece until the vaccination center. And the second one was the quality of service. That was a sector that we didn't have a good reputation in the past, especially in the national health system. Most of the time we have queues, and we have never been successful in enrollment other vaccination programs. So the first thing to do in order to ensure the quality was to digitalize the whole procedure from A to Z, from the entering of the vaccines in the border of Greece up to the SMS, the reminder SMS to the citizen. And this actually was something that was very helpful for the whole procedures. We could monitor from what we call here is the war room. It was a place that we all gathered together, all the ministries and all the employees that there have a strategic role in the vaccination program in the same place. So with the digitalization of the program, we'll have access in all the information at real time and taking decisions in a very fast way. And all the involvement staff, when we were doing more than 100,000 vaccinations per day, we are vaccinating almost the 1% of the Greek population every day. That this was happening in May and early June. More than 10,000 employees were involved in the vaccination program, and all this staff was trained in the new established procedure. The third strategic pillar was the transparency. We have a new legal framework that was implemented for all the aspects of the vaccination program, and we have set up a standard communication strategy. Every Monday, myself and Ms. Thudoridou, Professor Ms. Thudoridou, we're appointed in the public, in the media, saying what's going on with the vaccination program, with the prioritization, and answering questions regarding the enrollment, the safety of the vaccines. And we have dealt with several problems. regarding the safety of the vaccine, the safety of specific vaccination producers throughout the enrollment of the vaccination program. So we can see here in one slide what we mean by digitalization. It was digitalized from the warehouse. We have information in the center, what we have in storage, what we have in every fridge actually, the transportation, the logistics, the vaccination centers, and a very user-friendly way to deal with the appointments for the citizen. And actually this was very important because it was a very friendly procedures. People could book their appointments just with 4 or 5 clicks throughout the government website, or for people older ages that they will not very familiar with technologies, could book their appointment in pharmacies. And actually half of the vaccinations appointments were booked in pharmacies. It's almost 52%, and half of them were booked through the online system. So where we stand up to now, we have achieved 62%. We have done more than 12.5 million vaccinations up to now, and 62% of the population of Greece has received at least 1 dose. So I mean 60% is fully vaccinated, and if we come to the adult population, it's 70.1%. Of the adult population is fully vaccinated up to now. If we project through the end of October, and actually we are still getting new appointments now for people vaccinated for the first dose. It's just 5,000 or 7,000 per day, but we're still getting these appointments, and this is very important because we are slightly behind. I will come later on that. We are slightly behind the other European countries. So the forecast till the end of October is that we will be somewhere around 63% of the whole population and 73% of the adult population. We are taking measures to increase the people that we are going for vaccination, especially for the first dose. We are going home, have 300 mobile units vaccinated, or people at home or in remote areas of Greece. So if we compare Greece with other European countries, today we are in the 12th position in the 7-day rolling average per 100 people, and we are in the 70th position of the population receive at least 1 dose. In the same position, people is fully vaccinated, and we are 5% behind the median of the EU population. So here is Greece. If we see the position, we will see that Greece is where it stands in the other factors in European Union, and it's above the Balkans and former European countries, but behind the traditional Western countries. So here we can see the people receive at least 1 dose, the 17th position, and fully vaccinated in the European Union. We are somewhere in the middle of the European Union, but we have a huge difference from countries as Portugal, Malta, and Spain. If we go to the vaccinations, as you know, as I said in the beginning, the European Commission has secured vaccines for every country, and actually in Greece we have much more vaccines than the populations, and we started the vaccination programs in other countries. We have already donated a total of 1.5 million doses to several countries in EU and in Africa, and we are planning to donate more doses in Iran and Iraq, and we are now in negotiations regarding donate Pfizer and Moderna vaccine as well. And we are taking part in the COVAX program of the EU, and EU is taking in the COVAX program as well. And all the other AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson vaccines, it will be donated directly to the COVAX program. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marios Themistokleos, for this presentation of the vaccine program in Greece and how Greece collaborates indeed to the COVAX program for better dissemination of vaccine toward other countries. And now we will welcome Professor Marios Theodoridou, who will give us an overview of the vaccine during this pandemic and the challenge still yet to complete, maybe.
Yes. Can you please turn on the camera? Because we're not allowed. Turn on the camera.
Maybe, Professor Theodoridou, you can begin to share your screen in the meantime.
Let's start my video.
Yes.
Start your video. Start my video.
Now we can see you.
Okay. So.
Ναι. Share.
Εντάξει.
Yes, you may now begin the presentation mode. We can perfectly see your screen, Professor Theodoridou.
Yes.
Just in the lower right corner of your screen. Lower corner. Lower right. Yes, here.
Okay.
Perfect. Now
Okay.
you can go.
Okay. Sorry for the delay. A warm welcome from Athens, dear participants of sunny Athens, after hours of heavy rain. I'll start showing the main topics of my talk. Doesn't go.
Put your mouse once on the slide, click, and no, just with the left click. And then you will begin to be able to let your slide go. Now click outside of this on the left. And then you can go. Okay.
Okay, sorry again for the trouble. So the main topics of my talk are pandemic vaccines, for access to COVID-19 vaccination, the pharmacovigilance, the communication strategies to address vaccine hesitancy, and the impact of COVID-19 vaccination to routine child immunization. We are happy that and we have to acknowledge that we are happy that in a very short period of time we had the pandemic vaccines, and although numerous vaccines were and still are in clinical trials, the winners of this race, I think, were the two big categories of vaccines: the mRNA vaccines and the viral vector vaccines. As we can see, the mRNA vaccines take the advantage of the process that cells use to make proteins in order to trigger an immune response. And it is important to underline that this technology is new but not unknown. The mRNA vaccines don't contain a live virus, and there is no danger to enter the nucleus and have an impact on a person's DNA. The viral vectors also use a modified adenovirus to insert the spike protein information to human cells, and so to create the proper reaction for the immune system for protection in case of the entrance of the virus. So with these two kinds of vaccines, all countries had the weapons to fight the pandemic. The role of the European Commission was crucial in vaccine procurement and distribution in order to secure access to the pandemic vaccines for the European population. This busy slide shows the very important issues that the European Commission had to do with this pandemic. This slide underlines the main aspects of European vaccination strategy and vaccine deployment. In particular, the EC ensured the availability of a safe vaccine, taking into account the vaccines are considered global public good. Enhanced safety monitoring activities through pharmacovigilance took place. Efforts also were made with regard to objective, accurate, and targeted information. We can see the cumulative uptake we've seen before the results of our country, but we have in this slide the cumulative uptake percentage of vaccination among adults over 18 years old in European countries. So we see that the 80% they had at least one dose among adults. The uptake of full vaccination among adults is 74.5%, and the number of adults with at least one dose is 296,591 millions of vaccinations. Number of full vaccination among adults to 275,918,014. So we have to remember always that no one is safe until everyone is safe. And however, the virus is moving faster than the global distribution of vaccines. This is our unhappy, I think, result. And new variants of concern are emerging continuously, and the risk of infections have increased in all countries for people who are not yet protected by vaccination. This is evident in this slide, that we see that enough doses have now been administered to fully vaccinate 39.2% of the global population, but the distribution has been unequally been done. Countries and regions with the highest incomes are getting vaccination more than 20 times faster than countries with low income. According to WHO, to stop the pandemic, we need to vaccinate at least 40% of people in every country by the end of 2021, and at least 70% of people by the first half of 2022. COVAX, we've seen these donations that our country has done to through COVAX to many countries. Is the vaccines pillar of the access to COVID-19 tools accelerator. Its aim is to accelerate the development and manufacture of COVID-19 vaccines, and to guarantee fair and equitable access to every country in the world. As all we know, various vaccination strategies and policies during the rollout of vaccines have been established between the countries. Some of these topics are, for example, vaccination of children and adolescents, vaccination of individuals previously infected with SARS-CoV-2, vaccination of pregnant women, heterologous combination of vaccine doses, the mix and match, vaccine schedules, spacing of doses between the vaccines, booster or additional dose of COVID vaccines, and mandatory vaccination. The main principle of the is always for the vaccines the evidence-based balance of benefits and risks. In this slide, we have, I think, all the details of the system, this EODY, which is monitoring the safety of the vaccines. And we know that the most important property of a vaccine is safety. So with this pharmacovigilance, we are able to, for the early detection of potential safety issues. About communication strategies to address vaccine hesitancy is a very important issue that became more evident during the implementation of COVID vaccines. There are different strategies like targeted communication campaigns, influencers in vaccination campaigns, increasing knowledge and information, active involvement of healthcare providers, ensuring easier access to vaccinations, partnerships with stakeholders, including engaging with communities, sending vaccination reminder, incentives, addressing vaccinations in workplaces. But we have always to bear in mind that no one size fits all approach to increasing vaccination uptake. I have to remind that in 2019, the World Health Organization flagged vaccine hesitancy as one of the top 10 threats to global health. And vaccine hesitancy has resulted in recent measles outbreak in Europe and the low vaccination coverage with the coronavirus vaccine observed in several European countries. So there is a need for effective strategies based on the best possible evidence regarding drivers and barriers to enhance vaccine acceptance. Routine childhood immunization program is the cornerstone of preventive medicine in its country. As we all know, the side effect, we can say, an adverse effect of the COVID pandemic was to have fewer childhood vaccinations during the pandemic. So this is a very important point that we have to enhance our efforts to come to the regular or to improve the rate of routine vaccinations in order to avoid outbreak of other preventable diseases and keep children protected. In order to summarize and to link the lessons learned from the pandemic with the objectives of the joint action on vaccination, emphasis should be given to the following. Importance of a sustainable vaccine network, evidence-based practices on vaccination policy, establishment of an appropriate cooperation structure between European national immunization technical advisory groups and other European competent authorities, interoperability of immunization information systems, and address vaccine hesitancy in healthcare workers and the general public. Challenges to combat COVID pandemics. However, challenges to combat COVID-19 pandemic remained and include as the access issues, the need for solidarity between countries, and the development of preparedness mechanisms for future epidemics. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Theodoridou, and thank you for the final view of Athens, of what maybe we could have seen in a more physical meeting. And thank you for your talk on the challenges still on the road towards the end of the pandemic, not only in Europe, but also in other countries. And now we welcome Martin Ingvarsson from DG Santé from the European Commission.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I am. Yeah, it says I'm trying. Yeah, I think it's there. My video apparently needs to be put on by you. Okay, now it seems that I'm able to. Yeah. Can you see me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Thank you very much, and good morning from Luxembourg. Dear Joint Action for Vaccination, dear colleagues, I am happy to represent the European Commission at your Info Day today. As you know, it's by now usually my colleague Anne-Marie Jasbeck who works with you from Commission side, but I have also been involved, and as she could not be here today, unfortunately, it's me instead, whether you like it or not. Many of you know me already. I am Martine Ingwersen. I'm Policy Officer in the European Commission in the Directorate General for Health and Food Safety, and then more precisely in the Unit for Health Security. I work on vaccination both now during the COVID-19 pandemic and also in peacetime. And I'm here today to speak about the Commission's activities on vaccination in the coming years. And I mean, this is a little bit what everybody is aware of, but of course I need to say again that now we have been living for many months with the COVID-19 pandemic, and this has really influenced all aspects of our lives, and we're not on the other side yet. So this is a little bit also the framework for our meeting today. Next slide, please. But as you also know, and what has been addressed in the presentation so far, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. What you can see here now is a quote from Ursula von der Leyen in her State of the Union address this year. And she said, when I stood in front of you 12 months ago, I did not know when or even if we could have a safe and effective vaccine against COVID-19. But today, and against all critics, Europe is among the world leaders. More than 70% of adults in the EU are fully vaccinated. We were the only ones to share half of our vaccine production with the rest of the world. So in 1 year's time, vaccines have been developed against a disease and a virus that we did not know just 2 years ago. The Commission has played and still play a key role in securing access for EU member states to COVID-19 vaccines as soon as they become available. We have also played, and we still play, a key role in supporting member states in efficient deployment or rollout of the vaccines secured. The Commission is, of course, likely to keep working on COVID-19 vaccination and on preparedness for future health crises in the coming years. And I will, of course, speak about this today. But the Commission will also continue its equally important work on vaccination in general. And I would like to draw your attention today to some of the new initiatives in the pipeline, not the least in the context of our new health program, which is called EU for Health. Next slide, please. But let me start with the COVID-19 vaccines. It has already been said in the previous presentations that the Commission's work to secure access for member states to vaccines is based on the EU strategy for COVID-19 vaccines. And that's a strategy that was presented already last summer in a communication of 17th June. The purpose of the strategy is to provide safe and efficient COVID-19 vaccines to EU citizens as soon as they become available. The whole strategy is based on something called advanced purchase agreements. This means that the Commission helps vaccine manufacturers face upfront costs against the right to purchase vaccines once they become available. And the financial instrument we're using is the emergency support instrument. Next slide, please. So far, the Commission has secured access for member states to 4.6 billion COVID-19 vaccine doses. And these are not, as you may know, it's not doses that we have, it's doses that have been like secured or reserved. 4 vaccines from BioNTech, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson have so far been authorized for the EU market by the European Medicines Agency and the Commission. 2 vaccines from BioNTech, Pfizer, and Moderna can also be used in adolescents, or let's say individuals from 12 years onwards. And then last week, actually on the 4th of October, the European Medicines Agency also gave the green light for the use of the vaccines from BioNTech, Pfizer, and Moderna as additional doses in immunocompromised people, and for the use of the vaccine from BioNTech, Pfizer as booster doses to the general population. So next slide, please. So then on the 31st of August, just when we got out of summer, 70% of the adult population in the European Union were fully vaccinated. It's part of the story that many member states have also started already to administer additional doses to medically vulnerable groups, and some are even considering offering booster doses to the populations at a larger scale. However, and that's what we are, sorry, if we could just, thank you very much. However, it's important to understand, and we cannot highlight this enough, that there is still a significant proportion of the adult population in the European Union who still have not received a primary vaccination series. And then, as this was highlighted in the previous presentation, there are not only big differences in vaccination coverage rates across member states, there is also a large number of people at global level who still not have access to COVID-19 vaccines at all. So then you may ask, what are the Commission's next steps concerning COVID-19 vaccination and concerning preparedness for future health crises? Because of course we need to do something. We were not sufficiently prepared for this crisis. That's set in stone so far. Next slide now, please. So if we keep speaking about the Commission's work on COVID-19 vaccination, our next steps are that we keep working with member states to improve vaccination coverage rates across the European Union, and this includes addressing vaccine hesitancy and the mis and disinformation out there. And let me be clear, and it has also been said already, that vaccination hesitancy, it is a real threat against high vaccination coverage rates, and we need to fight it to increase the uptake of vaccines. We keep working with health professionals because we know that they are trusted sources of information when it comes to vaccination. And I would like to mention here the Coalition for Vaccination, which you may know, and which has played a key role in our communication around COVID-19 vaccination. We keep investing in this initiative, including by means of a new project called the Immunity Project, which has been set up with the very purpose of strengthening the coalition. Next slide, please. So as I said before, there's still a large number of people at global level who simply have not had access to COVID-19 vaccines yet. And again, no one is safe until everybody is safe. And we need to ensure such global access. The European Union has exported 50% of its vaccine production to 130 countries worldwide. From the start of the pandemic, there were also huge efforts to secure funding for COVID-19 research, for tests, and for vaccines worldwide. And actually 16 billion euro were collected via a series of pledging events or a pledging marathon back in 2020. And then there is Team Europe that you may have heard about. Team Europe, that's basically a team up of EU institutions, EU member states, and the European financial institutions. They act as Team Europe, and they have supported COVAX with 3 billion euros, to deliver vaccines to low and middle income countries worldwide. I would also like to mention the EU vaccine sharing mechanism. That's a mechanism so that EU member states can share vaccine doses with, for instance, the Western Balkans. It's very much about sharing vaccines with our neighborhood countries, but it can also be done via COVAX so that it can go to countries also globally. Next slide, please. So concerning the preparedness for future health crises, you may have heard already about the European Health Emergency Preparedness and Response Authority. It's also called HERA, maybe very nice now that we're in Greece. And as one of many actions that are being planned, this initiative will also ensure sufficient supplies of vaccines and other medical countermeasures in the future. HERA is a key initiative of the European Health Union, which aims precisely to strengthen Europe in the event of a new health crisis in the future. You can see some keywords here about HERA, but it's maybe here that I should stop and say that you may know that Santé C3 has actually split up, so that we do not deal with HERA. HERA has simply been moved to a totally new unit in Brussels. And this is why I'm happy to reply to questions about HERA if I can, but basically we're not working on this. And it would maybe be good for another meeting if a colleague from this new HERA unit could come and tell you more about this initiative. It's certainly a very interesting initiative, and it was just decided that it will be an internal commission service. It will not be an agency, as you know, for instance, from the ECDC. But there are many unknowns yet, and we hope that there will be more clarity now in the future. And against all this, the fight against hesitancy may seem to be on the softer side of things, but it's, as I said, just very important to fight this, because sufficient supply of vaccines is not enough. We also need people to take them. Or as we say, it's not vaccines that work, but vaccination does. Yeah. And COVID-19 vaccines, they are likely to play a key role in our exit from this pandemic that we're still living with. And they've also highlighted the importance of vaccination in general. At the same time, and now I'm also referring back to something that was already said, this pandemic has also challenged the continuity of routine vaccination, including childhood vaccination and including in Europe. So in the coming years, the Commission will not only work on COVID-19 vaccination, we will also continue our work on vaccination in general. Next slide, please. As you may, or as you of course already know, member states themselves are responsible for vaccination policies, vaccination programs, and vaccination services. But the Commission supports member states in achieving or maintaining high vaccination coverage rates. And we do this in a life course perspective, because we know that vaccination is an essential public health measure, that it works throughout life, and it is also a key element for resilient health systems. And the policy initiative that's currently guiding our efforts on vaccination is still the Council recommendation on strengthened cooperation against vaccine-preventable diseases from 2018. Now I'm saying things that you know already, but I guess it's still important to recall that this policy initiative calls for a large number of actions to be implemented by the Commission together with member states, international organizations and other stakeholders. And then it is actually being complemented by a joint action on vaccination, your joint on vaccination, the EU JAV. As you also know, the actions that are being called for are being implemented right now via a publicly available roadmap. And what you are doing in your joint action feeds into this roadmap. And actually, despite the COVID-19 pandemic, most actions have been or are being implemented according to the initial timeline. Now I'm speaking about the roadmap in general. And the last actions are set to be completed end of 2022. And then once again, the successful implementation of this roadmap also depends on the joint action on vaccination. So even though it's a pre-COVID-19 initiative, the Council recommendation remains an important policy initiative. And as I said, it's currently actually still the policy initiative that's guiding our work on vaccination. But we move on. Next slide, please. And our next stop is called EU for Health. That's the European Commission's new and very ambitious health program, which will run over 7 years. And as part of the EU for Health, we are currently setting up an EU immunization initiative that builds on our efforts on vaccination so far and also takes into account the experience from the COVID-19 pandemic. And I apologize for this crowded slide, but that was the only way I could do it. The planning of EU for Health and also the immunization initiative is yearly. And what you can see here is the first annual work plan for the immunization initiative and EU for Health. And you can see the actions that will start up this year. And as you can see, we will be focusing on, among other things, physical, practical, and administrative obstacles to vaccination. We would simply like to see or to know more about whether structural barriers could also play a role for people getting vaccinated or not. And not so much their feelings about vaccination, so to speak, but this is more about whether we could actually ease the access to vaccination in very practical terms. We also aim to have an action on the strengthening of national decision-making on vaccination plans. This is an action that will be implemented together with the ECDC. And together with the NITAGs, which are the National Immunization Technical Advisory Groups on vaccination. Of course, yeah. And then there is one other important action, which is a vaccine misinformation counter initiative. I'm not involved in this. This is done by our communication unit, but it's definitely also a very, very important initiative. What we could say is that both structural barriers to vaccination and the mis and disinformation can lead to vaccine hesitancy. And the COVID-19 pandemic has shown us how important it is to deal with this. So we need to carry on. We're not there yet. And we count on you, the joint action vaccinations, so that we can also build on your work, both now and in the future. So the final slide, please, but I guess it's only to know whether you have any questions, and then I'll be happy to reply if I can. Of course, what I gave you now is an overview of what the Commission is doing. I'm not working on all of this, but I am happy to reply to the question that I can reply to. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for this presentation of all the work that is conducting the European Commission, the European Union, all the ecosystem of initiatives in vaccination and in future implementation of transnational, of European-wide programs. Questions that have not been planified for this meeting. I hope there will be maybe some question in the next meeting of the JAV in 2022. But thank you again for this presentation. And now I will welcome the first presentation of EU JAV work package, which is work package 4. And I will welcome Magid Derrida from Ministry of Health France, Greet Hendricks from University of Antwerp, José Twelve for University of Alicante, and Ginevra Papier from the European League of Cancer. We can perfectly see your screen, Magid.
Okay. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Great. So good morning, everybody, dear colleagues. I'm very pleased to start this presentation of the DP4. This presentation will be shared with some of my colleagues, Greet Hendricks, José Twelve, and Ginevra Papier. The title of this DP4 is...
Excuse me, Magid, could you put again the little socks on your microphone and maybe put it closer to your mouth because it's a bit distant and a bit...
Like that?
Yes, maybe like that. Thanks.
Okay, so I will say that the title of this presentation is Ensuring Sustainability, because the very important overarching objective of our work package is to build options for a sustainable mechanism to facilitate uptake and implementation of the JAV outcome, taking into account, of course, the national and European context in which the sustainability implementation could fit the best. To build this sustainable mechanism, we have to take into consideration important aspects, the policy and the institutional support, existing organizational and regulatory frame that could facilitate uptake and overachieve by the relevant stakeholder on the long run. And of course, we need to take into account the contextual factor of the different member states, like the cultural trends, the epidemiological trends, the general economy, etc., etc. So, to try to have to work on this integration into national policy and sustainability plan, we have at the beginning of the JAV established a vaccine network. The vaccine network is composed by two entities: a member state committee, which is composed by a vaccine program manager appointed as official representative of the ministry. And this member state committee has a role of strategic guidance, and each member of this committee ensure an interface between the work of the JAV and the national respective government. We have also a stakeholder forum composed by many partners, like the European International Organization, Manufacturer Representative, Healthcare Professional Association, Patient Association, and other interested parties. So the vaccine network has been established to support well to leverage sustainability beyond the project, and is a very important actor for us. So regarding this sustainability plan, what has been done so far? We have first issued a first draft on September 2019. This draft was based on the survey that we launched from among all the member state committee, and we asked them what they need and what they expect from the EU JAV outcome that we have we're planning to do. This first draft we discussed with the LS committee during the first General Assembly in Rome. And from the comment we had from this, from the Member State Committee and the Stakeholder Forum, we elaborate the second draft that was issued at the end of 2020. Of course, this second draft takes stock of the progress of the EU JAV during the past years. So what is expected now for the end of the project, the final report? This final report will fully take into account the renewed health union framework logistic package to address the JAV sustainability issue and the member state uptake capacity. Beyond the task on this sustainability plan, we have a different pilot action in the VP4. This pilot action aiming at exploring a possible cooperation among member states, and we have a different topic in this action. One on healthcare training, one on cooperation on NITAC, and one on strategy of communication toward young people. And we will start to present the first one about the healthcare worker training. And for this, I will give the floor to Britt Hendricks.
I hope you can hear me. Good morning, everybody.
Yes, perfectly.
Thank you. As we are part of this sustainability package, work package 4, we thought that it was a good idea based on the Eurobarometer 488 that measured the attitude towards vaccination, where we see that the most trustful partner for information on vaccination is in fact the healthcare provider. So we thought that it was important to study and to deliver sustainable tools to assess the need of in-service training for healthcare professionals. And what we developed in this joint action was a vaccine training barometer. That's an online survey in which we would like to assess the need for vaccine training of the healthcare provider, to monitor the confidence of the healthcare provider, the confidence on how to communicate about vaccine. And an extra tool of this barometer is that you could collect questions that the healthcare providers get from their patients. And most of the time we ask them to report questions they could not answer. This online survey is available in Dutch, English, and Spanish, and there are more languages that I will elaborate on this later. With this barometer, this survey, we did a pilot test 2 times in Flanders in February 20 and in January 21. And then also in Spain, it was done as a pilot test. So if I can have the next slide. In this pilot test, on the left side, you see the results or a summary of the results from Flanders. And on the right side, you see the summary of the first round of the survey in Spain. So, and what is astonishing to see is that 31 of the healthcare providers that were surveyed feels confident to answer questions about vaccines. But this is meaning, for instance, for Belgium, but also for Spain, that more than 2 on 3, so more than 70% of the healthcare providers doesn't feel confident to answer questions of vaccines. There is a big difference between Flanders and Spain. In Flanders, it seems that the healthcare providers didn't get sufficient knowledge by their standard education. In Spain, half of the healthcare providers think that their knowledge that they got in their education is sufficient. But nevertheless, most of the healthcare providers are willing to follow extra courses. And what is very astonishing, but I have to say that these results are results from the beginning of the pandemic. So half of the healthcare providers in Belgium got the last 3 months questions that they could not answer from their patients. So if I can have the next slide. What is in fact the intention with what would we like to do with this vaccine barometer? It's a tool that can be used in other countries, and so we reported in our overall report that we will deliver in the joint action, we will report the methodology, but we can share, of course, the link for this online survey. We have two main outcomes. The first outcome is that we have a collection of unanswered questions, but also myths that we can use as input for fact checks. And the rest of the barometer, or an important factor of the barometer, is that we will use the input of the healthcare providers, and we will bring all this all together in an adapted curriculum. So if I can have next slide. What I presented until now is in fact all what we studied in healthcare providers that are in service, but we think also that there is a role to play in the pre-service or the students. So we did a survey, again, in an online survey among 5,000, and really we would like to thank the coalition members, student groups that are participating in the Coalition for Vaccination, so EMSA, EPSA, and the nurse students, that they distributed this survey, because we end up in a large population of students that respond to the survey. And we see there that also here 68% of the students doesn't feel confident to answer questions about vaccines, and even 70% answers that they would not vaccinate themselves with the flu vaccine. So there is still a lot to do in this student population, what we call medical and paramedical students. So in general, so we have the survey on students, we have the vaccine training barometer, and we have a list of training on vaccinology that exists. And all of this we are using to improve a curriculum on vaccinology that can be used in as students and for training on healthcare providers. So if I can have the next slide. So the big sustainable outcome of our part here in this project is that we created this vaccine training barometer. And the second part is that we now updated a curriculum, or improve a curriculum for vaccine and vaccination training, where we described in 8 different modules from the immunology, the key aspect of vaccine safety, the vaccine-preventable diseases where the vaccines are used for, the immunization policy, and future perspective. But all very important, what we describe here are all learning outcomes to communicate about vaccines. This curriculum will be disseminated via the JAV, but also, and then I would like to have the last slide. So we will disseminate this curriculum via the JAV in form of a report, but we also will make a module, an in-depth module on the communication part, and this will be done in what already was mentioned by Martin Inserm before us. We will be part of the Union project, where we will develop a module for train the trainers on communication on vaccination. And we will also still develop a module on the all other parts of the curriculum that will be described and will be based on existing trainings. So I may say that we developed really sustainable tools, and we hope that these tools will be used after the JAV will be finalized, that this can be used. If you want to use the vaccine training parameter, or you want to have to see the curriculum, please contact us. We always can provide you with more information on this part. This is what I have to say about
Thank you,
our
Grit.
part on this project.
Thank you very much, Grit. So we will follow the presentation with another type of pilot action regarding the cooperation between NITAG in the EU. So one of these tasks is try to explore the possibility to establish an appropriate cooperation structure between European NITAGs. So as you may know, NITAG are National Universal Technical Advisory Group. This is a multidisciplinary expert group. They are independent and they provide scientific recommendation and evaluation on vaccine for their respective Ministry of Health in order for them to establish the best national immunity program. So the aim of this EU JAV task is to explore the possibility to establish an appropriate cooperation structure between European NITAG as there is a recognized need for increasing collaboration and sharing unity between India and NITAG. The lead of this task is Antonio Tafila from Italian National Health Institute. And so what has been done so far? First, a survey among the NITAG chair of the countries belong to the consortium of the EU JAV, but also some other EU countries. The aim of the survey is to better understand the functioning of the NITAG, their budget, their cost. Some questions include also the possibility of recent collaboration with other NITAG, and in this case, we ask them what challenge they face and what lessons they learn from this collaboration. There is also some question about how topic and research questions evaluated by each NITAG are defined. Apart this survey, there is also a review of documents on established cooperation structure between NITAG and competent authority that has been performed. And for this task, there is a close collaboration and several exchanges with ECDC. The result is a final report expected at the end of the JAV, and the report will give recommendation and give us an extent if we have the possibility to establish a cooperation between European NITAG and the European NITAG. Sorry. This is for the first task. I will now give the floor to Jose 12 for the second task of the NITAG. Jose, you are here.
Good morning from Spain.
We can hear you perfectly, Jose. It's perfect.
Okay. Well, good morning from Spain. As you can see, the aim of our task is to provide an overview about the evidence base of national immunization programs. Our objective is to explain the decision-making process of different NITAG countries regarding the inclusion of vaccine in national immunization schedules. Our methodology is based on a cross-sectional study by an online survey, which questionnaire was designed ad hoc and sent to the chairs of the different European NITAGs in order to map the structure and characteristics in each country, to know the information related to immunization schedules, analyze the decision-making framework for the introduction of vaccines in each country, and finally to study the overview of the history of recommendations. The pilot survey was carried out in March 2021, and after that, a revised version of the pilot study, according to the comments received during the pilot study, was distributed to 22 European countries in 2 rounds. The first of them in the past month of June, and the second one just now. We hope to get the results before the year ends and have a final report on vaccine decision-making processes in European countries by the end of March 2022. Thank you, and now is the turn to Ginevra from the Association of European Cancer Leagues.
Lovely, thank you so much. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, it's perfect.
Great, thanks a lot. And thank you very much for the coordinators and our work package leaders to invite me to present the work of my organization, the Association of European Cancer Leagues. So we work towards kind of developing an effective strategy to raise awareness about vaccination among young people across Europe. Our strategy was really co-designed and co-implemented with a really valuable input of our youth group. That's the youth ambassadors for the European Code Against Cancer. And you can see some of them in this picture on the left-hand side. Essentially, this is a network of around 70 students and young professionals. They're aged between 18 and 35 years old. They come from different backgrounds and over 38 countries within the WHO European region, and with a common interest in health promotion and cancer prevention. And they essentially help us to kind of promote and disseminate the European Code Against Cancer at the national and local level. I'm sure that most of you will be familiar with the European Code Against Cancer. This is a tool that was funded by the European Commission and was developed by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. And it kind of provides the most reliable synthesis and evidence on cancer prevention. And it's been distilled in 12 easy to read messages aimed at the public, one of which is on vaccination. And especially it focuses on vaccination for hepatitis B and HPV. So basically the strategy that we decided to co-design entailed the implementation and evaluation of 2 pilot Europe-wide competitions. The first one was done in 2019 and it was aimed at school-age children. And the second one was run last spring this year and it was focusing on young people up to 25 years old. Next slide, please. Great. So just a small recap about our first pilot action that took place in the spring of 2019. Our youth ambassadors and ourselves here at the ESL Secretariat in Brussels, we reached out to schools principal and school management departments in order to kind of get primary and secondary schools involved in our competitions. Essentially, students were asked to work in groups of 3 to create posters and or short videos focusing on hepatitis B and human papillomavirus vaccines. And these kind of public service announcements were meant to target their own age group. So the focus was very much on peer-to-peer communication. And of course, the messages in the posters and videos were required to be in line with official information provided by WHO and that within the European Code Against Cancer. For the first pilot action, we end up receiving 40 submissions from around 10 countries. And you can see here on the right-hand side, you can see the countries that participated, how many posters and video we received, and our dissemination and awareness efforts. And what we did is just ahead of the European Immunization Week, which is an official observances run by the WHO European Office, we kind of published online all the videos and shortlisted entries so that the public could kind of take a look at them and they could vote on their favorite ones. And then on the last day of European Immunization Week 2019, the entries which received the highest amount of likes on Facebook and Twitter were declared the winners. And afterwards, through our youth ambassadors in the 38 countries where they're based and residing, we kind of disseminated this entry at the national level, and we still use all these materials in our ongoing communication and promotion related to the European Code Against Cancer and beyond. Next slide, please. Great. For what concerns this year competition, differently from the first edition, because of the pandemic and some of the, let's say, challenges that we found whilst carrying out the first competition, we decided to not focus on school-age children or reach out to schools, but to really focus on teenagers and young people under 25, but mostly from 18 to 25. So people were able to participate individually this time. They didn't have to work in groups, and also they did not have to be affiliated with a specific school or a specific university. This year, we again decided to ensure that the competition could mark the European European Immunization Week 2021. And this year we decided to have a focus on HPV vaccination. So the competition aimed at kind of raising awareness among young people about the importance of HPV vaccination, both for cancer prevention purposes, but also beyond that. And also we wanted to put on the spotlight the WHO global strategy to accelerate the elimination of cervical cancer as a public health program. So what we did this year, we had two streams, let's say, for the competition. The creativity competition welcomed different types of simple and complex graphics, such as posters, memes, GIFs, digital stickers, but also short videos. Whilst the case study competition, which was aimed at people perhaps in university with a more of a background, encourage participants to design some potential intervention, let's say, to promote the uptake of HPV vaccination in the local context. So what we did is our youth ambassadors and the secretariat, we provided participants with a list of facts about the HPV vaccination and cervical cancer so that they could kind of base their entries on that. And also we provided them with some tools and design softwares to help them create their content. So this year, we received over 80 entries from 21 countries, and we decided not to do the public voting, but to let a jury of experts judge the entries. Also, what we did this year that we didn't do in 2019 is we went beyond the competition. So after the competition, we organized, before the competition, we did organize an Instagram live session with the WHO ambassador for cancer, where we promoted the competition and we discussed the importance of vaccination in general and vaccination of HPV for cancer prevention purposes. Our youth ambassadors also organized a special webinar with experts from Croatia and Bosnia to discuss the uptake of HPV vaccine in Central and Eastern European region. And as a result of this webinar, they also created a video with testimonials from VIPs and experts from Central and Eastern Europe, kind of prompting women to get the HPV vaccination. Next slide, please. Great. So sorry for these slides. There's a lot of text. Basically, what was the value of implementing our two pilot actions, focusing on school-age children and young people, and how should similar initiatives be replicated, if at all, in the future? So you can see here on the slides, we try to distill some of the lessons learned. I think it was very important for us to really run the competition capitalizing on the European Immunization Week, so we could amplify our messages and we could also build a relationship with WHO Europe. So that's something that if any of this pilot action can be done in the future, it should definitely be done. We also noticed that peer-to-peer communications works really well. We are here based in Brussels, we are an association representing cancer leagues, but our reach is not to young people. So posting about the competition on our social media would not have reached as many people if it wasn't for the help of our youth ambassadors, who are really in the local and national level, working in the national and local level. Whilst schools are indeed great settings to promote vaccine uptake, and you cannot just reach students, but also teachers and parents, of course, the topic of vaccination has become increasingly sensitive. So there was a bit of backlash, let's say, from schools who felt uncomfortable bringing this topic into bringing the competition basically in schools. And indeed, schools should have in their curriculum, topics about vaccination, but it's becoming increasingly sensitive topic. So that's the reason why we changed a bit of the focus from the 2019 competition to the 2021 competition. Also, indeed, public voting was good in the sense that we managed to get a wide dissemination of our entries, but of course, it ended up that perhaps the most popular entries win rather than the best quality ones. In terms of the value, of course, through this competition, we indeed managed to let a lot of young people at the national level and the general public know about the work of EU JAV, not just of our work package, but the EU JAV as a whole, which I thought was very positive. And also, of course, we managed to promote messages about HPV vaccination and hepatitis B more widely. And from now on, I think the value of our pilot action was that we can have a benchmark and a point of reference to assess future competition if they are to be established. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ginevra. And for us, this is the final third slide of our presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ginevra. Thank you, great. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Majid, for this rich presentation of this rich work package with a lot of different axes that are explored, very interesting, including the communication toward special population or youth and the communication to the healthcare workers. Now we will have the time of our break, and we will come back in 20 minutes in 10:15 or 11:15 Greek time, just in 20 minutes. For the moment, apart from the EU JAV member, there are almost 100 people online. So thank you for being here, and see you in 20 minutes.